Make a pick and roll with it. Betting weekly. Fast break. From coast to coast and way downtown. From coast to coast and way downtown. From coast to coast and way downtown. Make a pick and roll with it. Make a pick.
Welcome into a Friday edition of Betting Weekly Fast Break. I'm Doug Kezirian alongside professional handicapper Albert Nguyen, also known as Analytics Capper. Very exciting stretch right now in the WNBA. It is jam-packed at the bottom of the playoff standings. Some interesting games tonight and looking ahead to the weekend. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. I love the slate tonight. I might have two or three plays. It's a slate with three games. It's interesting because the Wings are covering somehow, but they aren't winning these games. And the nightcap with Phoenix and Golden State. It reminds me of the NBA, the Pacific rivals.
Yeah, and all this, you got about 8 games left in the regular season for these main teams and a lot to sort out. And there's crazy finishes. And we had a buzzer beater a couple days ago. It's really, really parity has been the name of the game, at least outside the top few teams. But even the Liberty are losing. And they lost last night as a 15.5-point home favorite. And they're talking like it's no big deal. Oh, we just got to take care of business in the first half, things like that. It's really bizarre. I can't wait to bet against this Liberty moving forward every single game because they really are a shell of a good team. But we'll see when Stewie comes back. By the way, if you like what you hear on our shows, sign up for the newsletter, get exclusive tips and the free Insider magazine. Sign up for free at bettingweeklystudios.com. All right, some really interesting matchups, as I mentioned, Albert, and we'll get right into it. Maybe look at some futures at the end of the show. But Asia Wilson now the betting second favorite right now as the Aces continue to climb the standings and continue to win 9 straight wins. Number 3 in the standings, really wild. And we'll get into all that. But she's just plus 195 at Bet Rivers, and fee is minus 250. So really really compelling stuff. And Alyssa Thomas, I think rightfully is falling back to distant third. I don't think she can win. I know the triple doubles are incredibly impressive, but team performance matters. They've been losing. Asia's carrying a shaky Aces squad, but I wonder if Becky Hammond's kind of in that debate now for Coach of the Year. We'll see what happens when the results are in about a month from now. But I guess since we're up discussing the odds here, is Asia worth betting? I mean, we could have said this a few days ago when she was 5-1, and we said, "Oh, we missed the best price." Well, at some point, she might become favorite, right? Should we pounce at plus 195?
I would say if you're betting Asia Wilson, it's because you have some information about Fee. If Fee is going to play, because the Lynx are still going to end up with the number one record in the league, they're going to be first place. They're going to be far and away the favorites to win the entire thing. Best player, best team, it's still going to be Collier, in my opinion. So we'll see if is she coming back soon, anytime soon. I don't know. I'll defer to you there, Doug. But I personally don't think it's time to bet Asia. But you're right. This COV just in the last 5 days have been incredible to watch, and it's tied in with her team success, right? You mentioned the Aces, 9 straight wins. They blew out Phoenix last night. Phoenix plays tonight, like I mentioned, second night of a back-to-back. But I don't know if it's too little, too late in terms of the MVP discussion.
Well, how about the champion discussion? They are now the third favorite. The Las Vegas Aces are plus 750. I was talking with an odds maker of another book recently when they were hanging 40-1 and the Aces were 20-1 everywhere else. And he said, I just don't think so. I'm like, I absolutely think they can get it together. They have the best player in the series whenever they're on the court. Becky Hammond's a good coach. The new starting lineup with Kirsten Bell and Melissa Smith is making this team different, moving Jewel Lloyd to the bench. And he's just kind of chirping. I'm like, I don't know why you have to die on this hill of having them 40 to 1 and just take money. And then look at them; they're single digits now at 7.5 to 1. So I'm on board with the Aces being the third favorite. I think the Dream have some issues. I think Ryan Howard's a little too inconsistent, although Alicia Gray has been fantastic. I still believe in my Mercury. Now, granted, I'm glad I have 30 to 1, not 9 to 1. But every time I look at the screen during a Mercury game, Alyssa Thomas is either yelling at a teammate or yelling at the refs usually.
Is it bad for me to say that I actually like the Aces more than the Liberty? I know the Liberty are second favorites right now, just barely behind the Lynx. And I know they've been playing without Brianna Stewart. They had the championship pedigree. It's hard to play in New York. All of those factors definitely weigh in. But when I watch these two teams, just from an eye test, this is Asia Wilson post injury, right? Post coming back from injury, changes to the starting line. This is a completely different Vegas team. I think they're playing with a lot more confidence. They're getting the ball out of the old folks like Chelsea Gray, who's still a good player, but I don't think she can dominate 80% of the game like she used to. So I think it's to me I wouldn't say deeper team, but I feel like I trust that team a little bit more than the Liberty, just because the Liberty, they have this energy about them where, oh, we'll just get Brianna Stewart back and then everything will be fixed. And I don't think it's going to be that simple for them.
Right, but we have to be fair. We haven't seen this front line yet with Brianna Stewart, Mieselman, and Jonquel Jones. I mean, that's great rebounding, shooting. All three can stretch the defense around the perimeter on the 3-point line. Natasha Cloud's a weapon as the point guard, gets Sabrina off the ball. Phoebish is talented. So at full strength, they're pretty loaded, and even getting some of their role players back. But Asia Wilson's Asia Wilson, and the pieces fit really well right now with the Aces. So I'm not ready to go there. I think crazy stuff can happen, and that's why at 40 to 1, when I thought the Aces were starting to get their act together. The last time they lost was that like 50-point loss to the Lynx at home
Mm.
on that Saturday. That was their last loss. So it's been a nice run for this this Vegas squad. But I think the Liberty will figure it out. But they're bored, like many defending champions. They get bored by the regular season, and there's such a swagger and a confidence. They don't really care if they're on the road, so they're just going through the motions. They're just going through the motions in a lot of regards, and they had the big win, excuse me, against the Lynx. So we'll see if they do that against the Dream when they play next. But let's get into tonight's games, and a lot of good stuff. Oh, the chat is alive and well. Adam Osimo venting. I needed Asia to score 20, and she scored 19 and then got pulled. Oh well. I feel your pain. Asia was doing a little bit of everything, but the sporting cast was there as well. And Jackie Young, as SF Niner says, Jackie Young thought she was Michael Jordan. So look, they've all been there. Adam Osimo asking about some Dallas Wings action tonight. We'll get to that game, but I want to start with the team that played the Aces last night, the Phoenix Mercury. It's a compelling game. Afterwards, Satu Sabali was asked about the schedule and the travel. She said it's terrible. The league doesn't care about player safety and health because remember, it's a record 44 game schedule now in the W. A lot of times TV windows dictate when they have to play. And look at this, the Mercury with losing Kalea Copper mid-game yesterday with an injury. She's questionable tonight. They're 6.5 point home favorites over the Valkyries. Phoenix playing their fifth game in 8 nights. Okay. And back to back travel on the back end of it. So they were in Vegas yesterday, now home, small travel, but still fifth game in 8 nights. Players are complaining about it. Valkyries have not played since Tuesday, and they're off back to back losses. So we have a talent gap versus a rest gap. Mercury Lane 6.5. I can only play the Valkyries here. I do like them. Not money line, but I like the Valks over 4 full quarters to be fresher and be able to execute better.
If this game was in Golden State in Valhalla, this would have been a slam spot for me. Like I would have loved this spot for Golden State. The only thing that I'm cautious about here, and I agree with Doug, is Valkyries are nothing. It's not enough for me to make an official play. but they are just not a great team on the road. They've struggled on the road, even against bad teams, and in this case, even against tired, fatigued teams. But you're right. This could just be a scheduling loss, and the fact that the Phoenix Mercury players are publicly complaining, it's definitely in their heads, right? You usually don't hear that until after the fact, but the fact that they're complaining before the game even starts, I think it's in their heads. It's like when the Cowboys go up to the Green Bay Packers, right? And they're complaining about the cold before the game even starts. That's when they've already lost the game. They've already lost the mental aspect of it. And so I agree. I think it's Golden State or nothing. I'm hoping for a second half play. I think if this was like a game where it's tied or within 2 to 3 points, I think Golden State can actually pull away in the second half and win. So I'll wait until halftime to see if there's an opportunity to fire.
So conventional wisdom would suggest that the Mercury are going to want to bounce back from the loss and things like that. I don't know. I don't think they care. I don't think the middle pack of the teams. Now, I think the Aces are trying to get on track and figure some stuff out and do all that and ride the hot streak. I'm not sold that the Mercury care if they're the 6 seed or 5 seed or whatnot. Um, I think they're kind of locked into the 5 seed. They're maybe if okay, so they're going to be home with I mean, I just don't think they really care, and this is a must win. Whereas you're getting the kitchen sink from the Valkyries who are fighting for their playoff lives. You're getting 6.5 points. I don't think Copper's going to play. Mercury going through the motions. I think Alyssa Thomas has annoyed the officials. I think it's going to be a lot of open shots for the Valks. I'm taking the 6.5 as my first official play for this.
I would say if the Phoenix Mercury did care, Doug, they're only a game and a half out of second. Like if they were able to make this push here in the final 8 games, and it's too hard right now. The scheduling that you mentioned, 5 games and 8 nights, it's not going to get any easier. Like, but if they somehow go, I don't know, 6-2, 5-3, they have a shot. They have an outside shot at second or even third, and that's when you're sitting pretty in the postseason. But I agree with you. If they lose tonight, I do think they're going to start not load management, if you will, Doug, but they definitely want to be healthy and fresh for the playoffs. So it doesn't matter if they're the 5th seed, 6th seed, or 7th seed at that point.
Well, 2 nights ago, Wes and Sarah were on the show, and Wes took the +2 with the Mercury yesterday and beat the market. It closed 1. It was the bounce back spot, revenge angle, all this stuff. And the Mercury got punked from the start,
Yep.
and they were run out of the gym. And there's just an edge to them that's lacking. I think Alyssa Thomas is sort of plays bully ball against bad teams, but she's limited offensively. You can go underneath all the high ball screens. And the Valkyries, I think, are going to just hunt mismatches, back cut them to death, and going to play a lot harder and a lot fresher. And to your point, like maybe if it's tight at half, but the Valkyries have been such a great first half team all season. I'm just going to grab the 6.5. That's a nice number, especially with such a low total. I'm going to add under 155 as well. As much as I think the Valkyries will have open shots, I don't think the Mercury are going to want to run. I think this may grind to a rock fight in the second half. I'm on under 155 as well.
I like that a lot. Even with all the ups and downs that Golden State has gone through this season with injuries, with being a, expansion team. I talk about the splits in terms of home and away record. They're still first place in defensive field goal percentage, first place in 3-point percentage defensively. So this team still gets after you on defense, and against a Phoenix team that's tired, like you said, maybe they're not going to go 100%. So I do agree with you. I think the under, like I said, I like the under more than the actual spread, but I'm cheering for you on both of them.
All right. So maybe you can, the water's warm over here, Albert. Maybe you can join by the end of the show. If you like what you hear on our shows, just want to remind you again to sign up for our newsletter, get exclusive tips and the free Insider magazine. Sign up for free at bettingweeklystudios.com. I just want to encourage you because it came out today. It's awesome. So really check it out. Just tons of game previews and all that good stuff. Really thorough. You have the Bet Rivers odds. All right. The Seattle Storm visit Dallas. The Dallas Wings that nearly upset the Sparks behind 44 points from Paige Beckers, tying a rookie record in the WNBA. She was 17 of 21 from the field. Just an outstanding performance. But here's Seattle. which has lost 7 of 9, currently the 8th seed. And it's also a revenge spot. They lost 87-63. They lost by 24 the last time they faced the Wings. Now, that was with Giroux and that was with Enrique, who were both out tonight. So it's really, it's like the old joke of Michael Jackson and and all the surrounding siblings. That's what Paige is with all these people who are like, signed off the scrap heap mid-season. Not the greatest supporting cast. Storm are favored by 8 here. I think it's an absolute hammer. I think it's a full unit bet for me. Storm -8. I think they open up a can here, and I just don't think the Wings have the horses to hang around like they did against that Sparks defense or lack thereof.
Doug, this is my first trifecta spot on this show. I've done it a lot
Ooh.
in the NBA. This is gonna be my first one in the WNBA. I fully agree with Doug here. Not only are the Storm 2-7 in their last 9, but against the spread, they're 1-8. So even worse. So I like the first quarter. So when I say trifecta, I do like the Storm first quarter. I like the Storm first half, and I like the Storm full game. So give me 3 full unit bets on each of those. I'm hoping to go 3-0, but I think 2-1 at worst there is the look. And I agree with what you mentioned about the Wings. I think they're going to be very limited tonight with a couple starters sitting out, but also I think that was their Super Bowl already against the Sparks, and Paige Buckets, dropping 44 in front of like all these NBA players, in front of all these celebrities. I think that was already their moment this season, and they're good with that. And I think that was her moment in terms of, confirming the Rookie of the Year award. So I think they're gonna move on, and the Wings, even if Paige plays, because we know she's so good, she's gonna keep the team competitive and things like that. But there's just such a talent drop off from for the other players, right? Paige is up there, but players 2 to 7, it's going to be a huge disparity with Seattle. And Seattle, this is kind of like the perfect team for Seattle to play against who's been struggling, right? You're going to get wide open layups, you're going to get wide open threes. And the fact that Seattle now has 2 really good guards, they can also take it to Paige, which is going to be different from other teams. So I like Seattle a lot tonight, obviously.
Not just 2 good guards, they have Gabby Williams, who might win Defensive Player of the Year. So they're going to put her on her, and then they can do ball screens fine. So they're going to switch and put Magmador, and then they're going to switch. Um, I I think it's a hammer job. So the Storm just played the Sky, and I had the Storm, and they were up 19, and then it was backdoored. But this is different. The Sky have depth, and they have talent when they're at full strength to hang around and maybe make a run because they play hard, and then you leave Bantam open. The Wings stink, like you said, players 2 through whatever, like, they're really depleted. They have also the worst coach in the league. Okay, that matters when you're splitting hairs and laying points. I know there was a sharp group that bet plus 8.5. That's why the market moved to 8. But there was another sharp group that bet 7. I released it at 7 yesterday as well. I loved it. This is a get right spot for Seattle. You mentioned this is exactly who they need to face. That offense has had struggles. I think with Brittany Sykes, we thought it would be a quick fix right away because Erica Wheeler's kind of a black hole and limited. But to add a ball handler who's also a scoring option midseason takes time. And I think they're starting to find their groove. And the defense, they'll help off. Now, they're not going to just leave everyone else wide open. Seagrease can hit some shots, but Paige was just having her way, and the Sparks are terrible defensively. There's so much length with the Storm, even bringing Malonga off the bench. I think it's going to be really tough for the Wings to go shot for shot. Seattle should score at will. I think offensively, I mean, look at what's their team total going to be like 87.5. I think they're going to put up some points as well. This is a get right spot for the Storm.
Love it. Let's go. Let's go, Seattle.
All right, I like your trifecta. It's a little tricky in the first quarter. I will say they sort of force Malonga at the end of the first quarter. It gets frustrated. I've had some first quarters. It's Wheeler and Malonga. Wheeler's missing layups. It can be a little tricky. So just giving you a heads up there. But
I'll,
I
I'll
like
turn
the
you. I'll turn you into a believer of the trifecta tonight. Just watch.
all right. I call them the wheel, kind of like the craps. But I do like first half more than first quarter. If you had to pick one or whatever, sometimes not everyone can get down on a first quarter. All right. So the Indiana Fever off that huge comeback win with Kelsey Mitchell and all that. They trailed by 19 against the Sun, come all the way back, win in overtime. Now they host the Minnesota Lynx, who I believe have lost back-to-back games. So Minnesota, a 6.5-point road favorite here on a back-to-back as well. Minnesota was just in Atlanta and lost. And this Fever team, obviously playing without Sophie Cunningham. They have limited defensive capabilities across the board. And this is a tough one. This feels like a lot of points, but I really don't want to be betting the Fever these days.
Yeah, the way I read this one is Minnesota Lynx third game in 4 nights. I think they're going to be tired, especially on defense. We know without Fee, they played really great without Fee initially, and even in the 2 losses, it wasn't like they were playing poorly. It was just they were missing shots, and I think we're going to see a continuation of that tonight. So I'm actually going to be a little contrarian here. I actually like the under in this. I know Indiana can't really defend, and especially without Sophie, there's lack of physicality. But I think Minnesota is going to play a little slower. They're not going to be hoisting as many shots, as the last few nights. I just think it's going to be a slow paced game. Again, no superstars in color and no Caitlin Clark.
Well,
So,
Collier is upgraded to questionable.
oh, okay.
So potentially,
If
I guess.
she's in, yeah, if she's in, I would not make a play on the total. But if she's sitting out for another game, and I think she should be, to be honest, I think she should sit out one more game just because they're gonna be back home after this. If she sits out, I do like the under.
So it got bet up from 163.5 to 165.5, given it is an Indiana Fever game. And the Lynx should have a million open jumpers. But, I mentioned the playoff push for the Valkyries. Like, things aren't locked in for the Fever. I mean, they're in the 6th seed, but out of the playoffs is only 2 games back. So nothing's guaranteed here. And we've talked about their adjusted win total of 24.5, 25.5, 23.5. I think we played them all under. I think Fee could play limited minutes, but she's also put candidate for Defensive Player of the Year. So that could help the under as well. There was after Kelsey Mitchell had 34 points after halftime, Caitlin Clark tweeted MVP Kels. And I respect that. It's your teammate. It's like when like, I don't know, Rajon Rondo's at the free throw line, the Boston crowd chanting MVP. It's like, all right, all right. So I get it. It's a supportive thing. But the fact that one book actually had Mitchell at 20-1, it's like, you ninnies, she's not winning MVP. And by the way, there's don't you, for the credit on the comeback, don't you get some blame for being down 20 plus to the Connecticut Sun if you're such an MVP candidate? I mean, it's just so stupid that people actually bet Kelsey Mitchell 20-1. Anyway, I digress. It's a 3-horse race, but it's really a 2-horse race. So I think the Fever bench is pretty good, right? Like I like Dantas a lot. I don't love Odyssey Sims, but she's competent and capable. So if they can structure their offense and get buckets through Kelsey Mitchell and Lexi and Tasha Howard's going to have a big, they can get points. But if the Lynx were fresh, I'd be laying big number here. But because the Lynx are going to have open shots because the Fever played no defense. I just worry about their stamina, like you said, third game, 4 nights.
Yeah, and this is another scheduling quirk, and it happens a lot in the WNBA just because there's not a lot of teams, right? People, when they look at basketball, they see the 30 teams in the NBA. It's much more limited in the WNBA. I bring that up because this is going to be the first of 3 games, I think, in the next week and a half between these 2 teams. So they're going to be, facing each other head to head. Maybe in that 3rd game, you'll have Fee and Clark back. So I think they're going to be some feeling out, and they're going to be, holding some stuff to the chest in this game tonight. So that's pretty much why I like the under. There's a couple other angles from a mathematical standpoint as well. Just the 3rd game in 4 nights, teams just don't shoot very well, especially on the road. But I like the under here again, only if Fee is out.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's fair. They're just going to be running on fumes to a certain extent. But I will say Cheryl Reeve doesn't mess around. You lose back-to-back games. I think she's going to have a short hook on timeouts, going to be up in the grill of her team. And they lost the tight one last night, right? Like that was pretty tight. I want to say it was tied with like 2 minutes to go. And they had a chance. They had the ball down too late after a forced turnover when it looked like they were going to foul. And they got the turnover. And Lynx didn't just execute. I wonder, they're not throwing in the towel. I just wonder if I think Cheryl Reed's going to want him to respond. I just wonder if they're actually going to. So that's my that's my apprehension here.
Any comments or thoughts around how you handicap a game when both superstars are out? I know Caitlin Clark's been out for a while now. Same with Fee, but both stars are out for both teams. Does that impact how you look at the numbers or how you look at the handicapping aspect of it?
Yeah, I would say it's case by case. Like you said, Clark's been out for a while. That matters, right? Like that's not really a team that I think is missing their best player or whatever like that. I just feel like they're going to be adding someone when they do, not that they're still missing someone. I think adjusting to Sophie Cunningham is more fresher, right? So that's going to be more of a factor in that regard. Fee, they've adjusted as well. I think a team like Phoenix has even been playing without Copper. Remember, they started the first 15 games or whatever it was without her, so they kind of know what life is like. So it's fair. Checking in on the comments section, we touched on it earlier, and good to see. I don't know what SF9 are saying. Asia Wilson will never win a championship. I don't know. They won a couple. I'm not really sure what that is. Could be a typo. Some people thought I was going to be taking the dog, Dallas +8. I think that is key because you got to forget what you last saw. We saw the Wings look competent. We saw Beckers, but honestly, like Sparks couldn't even inbound the ball off a make. It was pathetic. They were checked out in so many ways, and like you said, everything went right for the Wings. It's just hard for them to respond. Um, when things go right. And I think Paige Beckers has Seattle's attention. I guess my question to you is Paige Beckers points prop 19 and a half. You going over now that she's sort of learning how to shed the unselfishness and looking to shoot more. And she realized she got the memo. They need her to score with this lineup. So she plays so efficiently, plays so pure with the game, lets the game come to her. But she did start against that Sparks defense, initiate her own shot, and obviously limited resistance with that defense compared to what you might face tonight.
Yeah, my first initial reaction, it still may hit, right? Some bets are still at the end of the day, you win or lose, and this bet may still hit, but I think the over on Becker's points is kind of a sheepish play, right? You're kind of following the masses at that point. She just had 44. Why is it now set at 19 and a half? Both two starters are out. Like it just makes a lot of sense. That's not something that I personally would ever do. So to answer your question, no on the prop, but I would say this from a defensive perspective, the Sparks and the Storm are completely different. They're on a
Eh,
completely different spectrum, right? Even with, um, Cameron Brink back for the Sparks. It's still not the same intensity level. It's still not the same aggressiveness that you're going to see from Seattle. Seattle shut this, a healthy New York Liberty team down in the fourth quarter, held them like in single digits. Like they have that type of ceiling when it comes to defense. So I don't think Paige Beckers is going to see, very many single coverages all night. If I was Seattle, I'm going to get the ball out of her hands and force these I'd say again, I said it like a talent gap, with players two through seven. I'm going to make them make the plays, right, and not Page. And so, I would say blitz Page, get her, double team, get the ball out of her hands, and that's probably why I don't like the points prop. And so, yeah, no play for me there.
Yeah, it's just there's two schools of thought to the expense of oversimplifying, right? Do you make Page go for 70 and don't let anyone else basically score, or do you just get the ball out of her hands and let the other people try to beat you as they're kind of open, right? Do you let the mid players or whatever you want to call them shoot sort of somewhat contested shots and get the ball out of Page's hands? I think you run late doubles, things like that. You can mix it up, but again, at the expense of oversimplifying. Petey says Page under points seems logical to him, 19 and a half. It's fair with that defense, but she does hit open shots, things like that. I would go under. I think because it's Seattle, like you mentioned, Albert. I think that's the reason to go to the under.
And I'll say this: if I was Seattle, I would definitely force Dallas to play 4-on-3. Right? I'm gonna force those four, not as talented players to play against the rest of my defense, and I'm gonna zone up the rest of it, right? The three people that are not with Paige are gonna be zoned up, and they're long, they're athletic, and once they get the rebound, they're gonna have the 4-on-3 advantage, which in my opinion, is why I really like this look. That's why I'm going to be on the Storm trifecta. I'm most likely, going to add Storm team total over as well because I think they're going to get free shots, in the half court, and they're going to get a ton of fast break points on Dallas.
So the letter A, that's all we got for his name, brings in a comment. He goes, I can't trust the Storm on full game spread after they let the Sky score 38 in the fourth quarter the other night. I think that's the kiss of death for recreational bettors. I think you have to look at that as an anomaly and not something that's a precursor to what you expect. You got to get that fresh taste out of your mouth. It was a total outlier performance. And we know the Sky, when at full strength, can do some stuff, right? Look what they just beat the Liberty outright. And so this Wings team, how about focusing on the fact that they had a lead and blew it right away in the fourth quarter because the Sparks finally started to play defense on Paige Beckers, or focus on the fact that the Storm were up 19 against a team that's better. Adam Osimo says, I'm not betting Paige over anymore. Haha. I feel like there's a sports betting class with Albert and Doug, the teachers. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't mean we have, again, the crystal ball or the Biff's Almanac, but there's principles here that we do try to teach sort of macro concepts. And I think it's a great spot to bet the Storm. And they're going to want to get the offense going. They need this game. They can't mess around. I think Storm money line's a good play. I just don't think the Wings, it's not like they're trending. See, it's very different with what we're getting from the Connecticut Sun versus what we're getting from the Dallas Wings. The Connecticut Sun have been building towards this, right? They had Mabry out and then she comes back. And so now they move Sanaya Rivers to the bench, who's been really solid rookie. Morrow's in the starting lineup. Bria Hartley's playing better. So this team has been trending in the right direction all year. And they're really well coached. They have that Euro coach that's come over. The Wings have the worst coach in the league. They have two starters that are out, including Agumbawale, and Giroux has been playing great. They are starting people that were literally claimed off the scrap heap midseason. They don't play any defense. They actually control their own pick for the lottery this coming offseason, as opposed to like Chicago, which is playing hard, and Connecticut doesn't have their pick either. I think Seattle has their pick, and Minnesota has Dallas's. So those teams are playing hard, running through the tape, trying to get better and trying to play well because they don't really care about losses. But Dallas does want losses. And Dave Adams says, you do have Biff's Almanac. I can see it behind you, Doug. Yeah, I mentioned that on the baseball show earlier, Hardball. I said, hey, I actually do have the Almanac. I just think they're very different teams. This is, Paige Beckers and the Supremes is what it is. And she's surrounded by weak players. Now, Segrist can hit some shots. Isaiah James can break people off the dribble and score, so can Quinterly, but they're also facing like a really good defense and an
Very
offense
good
that
defense.
needs to get right. And so the length of the Storm is going to be key. Now, Beckers could go over 19 and a half because she has great range and she's going to have opportunities, play a lot, and she shoots floaters. But I think the Storm should run them off the court too.
The fact that the Storm just gave up, 38 to the Sky in the fourth quarter, I guess, whoever made that comment, I think it was I think you should think the opposite, right? I think those are the opportunities where people are going to overreact. And I think, most casuals are going to say, oh my gosh, they were up 19. They gave up the lead. They gave up 38 points in the fourth. I can't back this team anymore. In my opinion, that's when you should back the team, or that's when the opportunity to back the team arises. And so I like the Storm today. I also like them, not only all the stuff that we've been talking about, but head to head. I think they played about a month ago, these two teams. The Storm were big favorites again, and they lost outright to the Dallas Wings. I'm not saying it's a revenge spot because, the Storm and the Wings are in completely different, stratospheres when we're talking about teams. But you're not going to get very many outright, 8 to 10 point double digit underdogs win outright back to back games. And so I'm pretty, I'm locked in on Seattle today. And again, I could be completely wrong. And I think that's why, in my opinion, I like the trifecta bet, because the trifecta bet, it's very rare that a team loses all three. We see the team win all three pretty often, especially if it's a blowout in the first quarter and they just coast. But it's very rare to see like the favorite lose all three of those, aspects of the trifecta.
And in other sports that have different sort of markets and wider range of opposites, you can actually bet first quarter and second quarter, not just first quarter, first half. So you can just bet that they're going to beat them over certain select time periods. So I would bet second half pre-flop, first quarter, and second quarter. I just think when the Storm, or sorry, if the Wings have a good stretch, it might hurt you, but not if you chop it up in as many pieces as possible. You're going to the effort, the edge, the intensity edge is going to be more pronounced in that regard. Hey, I want to look at a couple games tomorrow. By the way, the market's getting hit on our Valkyries bet. It's now 5 at Bet Rivers. So just something to keep in mind. I think we were on to something. I think the copper status is trending in that direction. And Brad says this is a great conversation. Appreciate hearing the theory and thought process you both have from a macro perspective, teaching us to fish instead of just feeding us fish. Hey, I really like that, Brad. Thank you. I know in this day and age, so many people just want the picks and just want to cut to the chase, but we do try to rationalize it. And like Albert said, like we may very well lose this. I was on the Sun against the Mystics yesterday, and the Mystics wire to wire. Sorry, the other way around. I was on the Mystics at Connecticut, and they went wire to wire. So I could be dead wrong, but it certainly is. The thought process is, I think, is withstood the test of time, so to speak, in that regard. Quick look at tomorrow's games. And we have one on national television. And the reason that many people liked the Sky plus 15 yesterday is a sandwich spot for the Liberty. They beat the Lynx, and then they have the Dream in Atlanta on deck. This game tomorrow it's on CBS. And it's going to be about a coin flip spread about Atlanta 2. They just beat the Lynx at home. They welcome the Liberty. We know New York's off a bad loss. Any early read on this game?
I kind of like New York, but it's hard for me to back a team because I don't like the makeup of the team in general, and I don't know if they're completely motivated to play in these games. I mean, Atlanta is a really tough place to play. They're gonna bring a lot of size to the game, a lot of length, but New York has that, and so that's why my initial reaction was New York was, Atlanta's strengths kind of fall right into New York's ability to play offense and defense just because they have those, triple towers at this point, but. No, Reed. I'm actually interested in your take on the next game there. I know the Aces are on fire, but would love to hear.
Yeah. Aces visit the nation's capital, so they got a big win on Thursday at home against the Mercury. Now they go across the country to face Washington, which laid an egg in Connecticut, like I mentioned. I said this during the game yesterday. Obviously licking my wounds off betting the Mystics. I just don't think Citron has that like gene that like Becker's is developing right now and that Caitlin Clark has. Just like the takeover gene. She still has to play off the ball and let the game come to her. And Sug Sutton is not Brittany Sykes. She can't create and score. And I think Kiki's kind of soft. She's got some Cardoso in her, meaning talented, but just kind of lethargic and going through the motions and doesn't really have the urgency you want. Now, these are rookies and you understand it. There's some growing pains. But I think the Aces could really muck it up and blow them out. Like muck it up with intensity and skill. But I think this Mystics team is like, even if with Shakira Austin returning and getting in the starting lineup and playing over Dolson, I think this Mystics team could get boat raced here. I
That's
would lay it with the Aces. It's a lot of road chalk, probably. It's like a touchdown or so, but I'd probably lay it.
That's actually how I read it too. Like I was thinking Aces right off the bat. I mentioned they're on fire. They've also lost to the Mystics in back-to-back games, right? They played last week and
Ooh.
lost, and then they played, I think 3 or 4 weeks ago. So
Yeah,
both
without
of
Asia.
those,
Yeah.
yeah, both of those were, short spreads, so coin flip endings. I need to look back on how the previous game ended in the fourth quarter, but the Mystics are on a 2-game winning streak in this head-to-head matchup, so I think it's a great spot for the Aces. Again, they're rolling right now, right? So you don't want to, Doug mentioned this, I think 2, 3 shows ago, but catch a falling knife, right? Just because you haven't been betting the Aces during this 9-game winning streak doesn't mean you should start now because they're on fire. But at the same time, you can also, and a lot of my numbers will suggest this, like recent bias is a real thing, momentum is a real thing, and when players start to really believe in like the new system moving forward, and in this case, they completely changed their starting lineup. They got their superstar back who's playing like the MVP, 30, 20 games. The belief is back in this team. And this is a team that nobody wants to play moving forward and nobody wants to play in the playoffs right now.
The other game tomorrow, it's on national television as well. Hey, it's kind of the toilet bowl. Nobody wants double digits, right? Although both teams do not have their pick in the lottery, the first round. Sun at the Sky, 8 wins versus 9 wins. I, I think the Sun are a bet on team right now. I think they're sharp and crisp, and they're better coached, not by a lot. I do like Chicago. I'm guilty of backing them too much. But I would take Chicago, this Connecticut Sun. But the problem is the Sky just bored, man. They rebounded with Cardoso and Angel, of course. Man, it's tough. It's a lot of points in the paint off rebounds.
Yeah, when I look at two bad teams facing off, and in this case, 8-27 against a 9-26 team, I actually look at the overs. I haven't really dove into the numbers yet in this game in particular, but I do that in every single sport. When I see two horrible teams in the NFL matching up in Week 15, I look at the over. If I see so I look at the opposite. So in baseball, if it's two aces going at it, I look at the over, right? So those are some of the kind of contrarian mindsets or principles that I start with, and then I look in the numbers to really confirm it.
All right, my man. What a note to end on. The barn burner tomorrow between the Sun and the Sky. Although it will be fun. I think both teams are playing pretty well, all things considered. Both coming off nice wins as an outright dog. Although the Sky much more impressive as a 15-point dog. That might be the highest all year. We'll see. I have to look that up. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Betting Weekly Fast Break. We always appreciate you chiming in and joining the conversation. We'll have another slate of shows all next week. Also, Betting Weekly Hardball. That's at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. Have a great weekend to everyone. Want to wish you that. And also good luck on your wagers for Albert Nguyen and everyone behind the scenes who does such an awesome job making everything look so wonderful. I'm Doug Kezirian, and we'll see you back here next week.